My dears, have you read the latest Lady Whistleton Society papers? Such scandal! Hi everyone, today I wanted to talk about the Bridgerton series. So the Bridgerton series is a series by author Julia Quinn, and it has been getting rather famous lately because Netflix has optioned it as a TV series, and the first TV series a lot of people liked, and I enjoyed it. So I wanted to rank the books in this series. So there are 8 books, so grab a cup of tea and we shall go through them. So the Bridgerton series is a series about 8 siblings in a family, and this is a very close-knit family. They love each other, they stand up for each other, and I actually really like this family and their interactions with each other. And each book, there's 8 books and there's 8 kids. So each book focuses on the romance of one of the kids. And so let's get going. In the 8th spot, the book that I didn't like is When He Was Wicked. So this is actually book 6 in the series, but it's my number 8. And this is the story of Francesca and Michael Sterling. Now, we don't really get to know Francesca through the first couple books. So this is book 6. She's only mentioned a little bit, and that she went off to get married in Scotland or somewhere. So we don't really get to know her. So this is almost like a standalone book. Some of the other characters come in, like the mom, but I just never felt that attached to Francesca, and I didn't like her character, nor did I kind of like the Michael Sterling character that she falls in love with. So she goes to Scotland to get married. Her husband dies, and she falls for her husband's cousin. So like throughout the whole book, she's like torn. Should she fall in love with him? And then he's kind of a rake, and then she's like, oh, well, I don't care. And a lot of times it was that she was a bit self-centered, and there was a bit too many steamy scenes for my liking in this book. The Bridgerton series movies are on Netflix that you've seen has a lot of steamy scenes throughout each episode, but most of these books only maybe have 1 or 2 in them. So I actually preferred that a lot better. So yeah, I did not like When He Was Wicked. Number 7, in the 7th spot, is To Sir Philip with Love. And this is Eloise and Philip Crane's love story. Now, Eloise is one of the middle child. This is actually book 5. And she goes off to marry some guy that she's been corresponding with. And it's their romance. And throughout the first couple books, she's doing something mysterious with letters. And then in this book, we find out that she's been corresponding with this guy, and she goes off to marry him. Philip Crane has 2 kids, and he kind of wants a mom for them because he's a widower. And he's been corresponding with Eloise because they had some mutual acquaintances, or she was acquainted with his dead wife. And he kind of says, oh, she's a nice girl. So even though I like Eloise, and I thought this story was going to be more like a Jane Eyre type of story, but it wasn't. Philip Crane, I did not like his character. For lack of a better phrase, he was pretty wimpy. Like, I just didn't really like him. But I liked Eloise. And the first part of the story with her coming to the house and kind of rallying up the kids was interesting and fun to read. But I think he kind of just put a damper on it. Because I just didn't like him. He was just so wimpy. And Eloise deserves better. So that's why the book is in my number 7 spot. In my number 6 spot, An Offer from a Gentleman, which is Benedict and Sophie Beckett's story. And this is actually book 3 in the series. So An Offer from a Gentleman is a story of Benedict, and it's kind of like a Cinderella story, and where they meet at a ball. He doesn't know who she is, but he has that memory of that girl at the ball. And little does he know that she's like the illegitimate child of an earl, and she's kind of a servant in a different household. But he still remembers her. And then they get thrown together through fate, and she ends up taking care of him while he is sick. And he says, well, why don't you work for my mom? I have a job for you. And then he still likes her, and it's their romance. So I like this story, especially the first maybe 2/3 of it. I really liked it. But I like Benedict's character, but I didn't like Sophie's this time. So I kind of switched from the other one. She has these principles, and then she kind of throws them away at some points. And it's kind of a little bit incongruous. So that kind of just bothered me with that. But I really liked the story, which was pretty cute with Cinderella story. And really funny. But yeah, so that was that story. It was good, but still in my number 6 spot. In my number 5 spot was Romancing Mr. Bridgerton, which is Colin and Penelope's story. Now, this is the 4th book in the series, and to kind of understand their romance, you have to kind of have the other books before it. Penelope has a secret, and the secret is, spoiler alert, is that she's Lady Whistleton. And throughout the first couple books, she's writing all these secrets about the people in the town and romances and all that. And Colin doesn't know that. And he knows that if someone finds out, they're not going to like her because she's spilling everyone's secrets throughout the town. And they have known each other for a long time. She's like his sister's best friend. And he's always looked at her as a sister. But then his eyes are open, he falls in love with her, and then he finds out that she's Lady Whistleton, and then there's the drama. It was cute because I had read the books before it, and kind of it added to their story. But at the end, it was kind of a little rushed, I feel, but it was still a good story. In my number 4 spot, where's my number 4 spot? On the Way to the Wedding, Gregory and Lucy's romance. This is the 8th book. This is the last book in the series, which I just read. And this, so Gregory is the last sibling to get married, and his mom is kind of like, so when are you gonna get married? When are you gonna get married? And he's the hopeless romantic of the family. And he's like, oh, when I find the girl, I will know. And one day he goes to his sister's party, and he sees a girl across the room, and he's like, oh, she's it. And it's a girl named Hermione. And he falls head over heels for Hermione. Hermione's best friend is Lucy. And she's like, another guy falling for my friend. I have to kind of play wing girl here. And she talks to him, and she's like, well, she might like somebody else. Well, why don't you try to be different than all her suitors? So Gregory kind of takes her advice, and it doesn't work. And then throughout all this, they form a friendship, and he falls for her, for Lucy. But she's engaged. Her uncle has brokered a match for her, and she feels that she has to do it. And Gregory's like, but I love you. And she's like, oh, I have to marry this guy. And at the end, he's like, well, he tries to figure out why, and it's because she was being blackmailed for her family that she has to marry this guy, and so he takes care of it, and there's a happily ever after. So I like that one. It was pretty cute. In the number 3 spot is the first book in the series, The Duke and I. This is Daphne and Simon's story, and this is the first book in the series, and it was really cute. It's almost like a love to hate story starting first, and they're like, Simon and Daphne meet at a ball. They're like, well, Simon's like, I don't want all these society mamas to be throwing their daughters at me, and Daphne's like, I need to be looked at as desirable. So they both make a pact, and they're like, okay, Simon, you pretend to like Daphne, so that other guys are like, ooh, a guy likes Daphne, the Duke likes Daphne, so she looks more desirable. And then the Duke will be like, oh, well, I'm courting Daphne, and then the society mamas will stop putting their daughters towards him. So they end up getting married, and then there's just some drama. This one has a little bit more steamy stuff than some of the rest, but I kind of just flipped through that. But it was overall a good story. In the number 2 and number 1 spots, they were very hard for me because I really enjoyed the number 2 and number 1 spots. The number 2 spot is the second book in the series, The Thekkant Who Loved Me, which is Anthony and Kate's story. And I really enjoyed this one because I actually liked both characters. I thought Kate was really funny, and I liked Anthony, and the story was hilarious. So the Thekkant Who Loved Me was, he is the oldest brother, and he knows he needs to marry, but he's like, you know what, I'm just going to marry to do my duty. I'm not going to love my wife. I'll be good to her. I'll be faithful to her, but I'm not going to love her. And because he was kind of a rake around town, and Anthony says, oh, there's this girl that would be a perfect wife. So he starts to court this girl, but this girl has a sister, Kate, and Kate's like, you have been a rake around town. I don't think you're good enough for my sister. Stay away from her. And Anthony's like, what? No, I'm not. And then there's like the battle of wills, and instead of courting the sister, he ends up a lot of times in the company of Kate. And then through that, and through many mishaps, and Kate has a dog, which doesn't help things, which is pretty funny. They fall in love, and they get married, and then throughout the first couple months of marriage, Kate falls in love with him, and then Anthony kind of figures, oh, wow, she's a great person. I actually really like her, and then it grows to love. So I really like this one. And then in the number 1 spot, again, very close, it's In His Kiss. Is in the number 1 spot. That's the 7th book of the series, which is Hyacinth and Gareth's story. Now, Hyacinth is kind of the outspoken daughter of the Bridgertons, and all her family are like, she's too outspoken, she's never gonna get married. And then one day at a musicale, she ends up talking to one of the people she's known for a while, Gareth, who is the grandson of Lady Danbury. Now, Lady Danbury has made appearances throughout the book, and she's just this hilarious older lady who just speaks her mind about the people around town. And Hyacinth sees that Gareth really loves his grandmother. And he's always just looked at her like, oh, she's just another girl in the city. But the grandmother's like, I think they would be great together. And it ends up that he has this book in Italian. that needs to be translated, and grandmother's like, Hyacinth can do it. She can translate that for you. And so they end up working together to translate this book. And through the book, there's kind of a mystery about some family jewels and like where they are. So they work through that, and then they fall in love, and I really like that one. I almost feel like I could re-listen or reread all these stories. So those are all the Bridgerton books that I read. There is a 9th book called Happily Ever After, I believe, which kind of does an extended epilogue of all the siblings. And the books that I read of them have that epilogue for each of the siblings in it. So I kind of read that book, even though I didn't actually have the physical copy. And if you like to know what happens to characters in the future and their kids and all that, you should read it. So those were the Bridgerton books. Did you read this whole series? Which book did you like the best? I would like to know. I know a lot of people like the Duke and I the best, and then I know a lot of people like the Thekkant Who Loved Me. So again, yes, these are Regency cute romances. But yeah, let me know which one you like the best. I hope you like this video. Like and subscribe, and I will talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.